Hello students, welcome. In this lesson, we are going to be studying cell biology. When you look around, you see both living and non-living things. You must have wondered and asked yourself, what is it that makes an organism living? Or what is it that an inanimate thing does not have that a living thing has? The answer to this is the presence of the basic unit of life, the cell, in all living organisms. In addition to observing tiny organisms and sections, the microscope is used to observe cells. A cell is the smallest structural and functional unit of life. Just as bricks are the building blocks of a house, cells are the building blocks of organisms. All organisms are made up of cells. All living organisms on Earth are divided in pieces called cells. These cells arise from pre-existing cells. Cell is derived from a Latin word, cellular, which means a little room. There are smaller pieces to cells that include proteins and organelles. There are also larger pieces called tissues and systems. Cells are therefore the small compartments that hold all of the biological equipment necessary to keep an organism alive and successful on Earth. A main purpose of a cell is to organize. Cells hold a variety of pieces, and each cell has a different set of functions. It is easier for an organism to grow and survive when cells are present. If you were only made up of one cell, you would only be able to grow to a certain size. You don't find single cells that are as large as a cow. Also, if you were only one cell, you couldn't have a nervous system, you would have no muscles for movement, and using the internet would be out of question. The trillions of cells in your body make our lives possible. There are many types of cells. In biology class, you will usually work with plant-like cells and animal-like cells. We say animal-like cells because an animal type of cell could be anything from a tiny microorganism to a nerve cell in your brain. Plant cells are easier to identify because they have a protective structure called a cell wall made up of cellulose. Plants have the wall, while animals do not. Plants also have organelles like chloroplast, the things that make them green, or large water-filled vacuoles. We said that there are many types of cells. Cells are unique to each type of organism. Humans may have hundreds of types of cells. Some cells are used to carry oxygen through the blood, while others might be specific to the heart. If you look at very simple organisms, you will discover cells that have no defined nucleus and other cells that have hundreds of nuclei. The thing they all have in common is that they are compartments surrounded by some type of membrane. Animal cells usually have an irregular shape, and plant cells usually have a regular shape. Cells are made up of different parts. It is easier to explain what these parts are by using diagrams like the ones below. Animal and plant cells both contain a cell membrane, a cytoplasm, and a nucleus. Plant cells also contain these parts not found in animal cells: a chloroplast, a vacuole, and a cell wall. The table summarizes the functions of these parts. The cell membrane controls what substances can get into and out of the cell. It is found in both plant and animal cells. The cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance where chemical reactions happen. In plant cells, there's a thin lining, whereas in animal cells, most of the cell is cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is found in both plant and animal cells. The nucleus controls what happens inside the cell. It is found in both plant and animal cells. In examinations, do not call the nucleus the brain of the cell. That is not a good description and will not get you marks. The chloroplast is where photosynthesis happens. Photosynthesis is the process by which plants make their own food using sunlight energy and oxygen. Chloroplasts contain a green pigment called chlorophyll, which is responsible for the green color in leaves. Chloroplasts are found in plant cells only. The vacuole contains a liquid called cell sap, which keeps the cell firm. The vacuole also stores extra water and gives extra support to the cell by pressing hard against the cell wall. It is found in plant cells only. The cell wall is made up of a tough substance called cellulose, which supports the cell, and it can only be found in plant cells. A clear comparison can be made between plant and animal cells based on their differences and similarities. Animal cells are different from plant cells in the following ways. Plant cells have a rigid cell wall made of cellulose, while animal cells do not. The shapes of the cells are different. An animal cell is irregular, while a plant cell has a fixed, regular, rectangular shape. Generally, the plant cell is bigger than the animal cell. The vacuole is very conspicuous in the plant cell, occupying about 90% of the space in the cell, unlike in the animal cell where it is totally absent. Animal cells lack a chloroplast, unlike plant cells which have several chloroplasts. Animal cells have just a plasma or cell membrane Meanwhile, plant cells have a plasma membrane consisting of a cell wall and a cell membrane. Plant cells have the ability to make their own food using sunlight, a process known as photosynthesis. Meanwhile, animal cells cannot. However, animal cells can engulf other cells, a process known as phagocytosis. Meanwhile, plant cells cannot. Animal cells are, however, similar to plant cells in the following ways. The basic similarity between plant cells and animal cells is the cell parts. Many cell parts are found in both plant and animal cells. Both plant and animal cells have a nucleus. Plant and animal cells also have a plasma membrane. Again, they also have a watery fluid which protects their nuclei called cytoplasm. And finally, they both contain DNA. DNA is the genetic information that makes up living organisms. For example, consider this family. The father has black hair with black eyes, and the mother has gray hair with blue eyes. The son has black hair with blue eyes. This means that the son took the black hair gene from his father and the blue eyes gene from his mother. Another similarity between plant and animal cells is their ability to divide, thereby forming new cells. For example, consider this illustrated diagram of an animal cell. Let us call this cell the parent cell. This cell can divide biologically, producing two identical cells, which we will call in biology daughter cells. We have come to the end of our lesson on cell biology. In this lesson, we learned that the cell is defined as the smallest structural and functional unit of life. There are two types of cells, plant cells and animal cells. Plant and animal cells have similar features such as a cell membrane, a cytoplasm, and a nucleus. Plant cells also have some features which are unique to them, such as a cellulose cell wall, chloroplasts, and a permanent vacuole. To see if you can put the pieces of this lesson together for a better understanding, please head over to the revision questions for this lesson. Thanks for your kind attention.